next time you meet me in Gate City.
Oh, Cody Pope. I know Cody Pope.
Our friend is Cody and we not having a good day.
Smack dab in the middle of all that.
That was beautifully said. And I love that you said when you have a microphone.
And we were able to do it.
It's about showing up.
What up, world? Welcome back to another episode of Cody Central. I am, of course, your host, Cody Pope. Welcome back, welcome home, or welcome for the first time. If it's your first time, every night here is a little bit different, but we're going to have ourselves a wild night nevertheless. So thanks for sharing your time with us, and let's lock in. As I mentioned before, I am your host, Cody Pope, and this is my co-host, Danny Dymez.
What's up, everyone? As always, if you're tuned in from YouTube, thank you, and please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment to let us know where you're watching from. And don't be afraid to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our uploads. If you're watching on Facebook live streams, thank you as well, and please share this live stream to your page right now or share to some friends. And either way, drop a comment with where you're tuned in from as well.
Before we get started, I just announced some new performance dates with more on the way soon. Right now, you can check me out on February 7th at the Backstreet Bar in Hudson, New Hampshire. I'm going to be doing a featured set there as part of the marathon fundraiser for the Vine Street and Ash Street apartment fires in Nashua that displaced a bunch of people recently. And then on March 29th, I'm going to be at the Shaskeen in Manchester, New Hampshire. I'll be at the Shaskeen Pub for New Hampshire's longest running hip hop residency, Rap Night Manchester, hosted by DJ Myth, I9, and Sean Caliber. I'm currently trying to lock in some other gigs right now: Vermont, Maine, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and more. Working on setting up plenty of travel dates right now. So if you have any interest in me coming to your town to do a show, I've got a booking form that you can fill out, and I will email you directly at www.cody-pope.com. And also, I wanted to send a huge thank you to everybody that's checked out the new visual for my song Moonlight. You can find that here on YouTube as well as my social media. That was shot by my co-host Danny Dymez, and this year is actually the 5-year anniversary of Howling Man, which is crazy. So trying to figure out something cool that we can do for that, and you guys will have to let us know what you think about that. If you want to get tickets to any upcoming shows, if you want to see dates, if you need music videos, anything like that, everything is all lined up right over at the Cody Pope website, which is www.cody-pope.com.
Then I stopped too late. How could I be so selfish? Do this. Lost under the state like inventory of dead ends. I miss whom I can't memories of my dead friends. It's my soul on the record, like removing the mask. Brain connected, feel electric, intermeshing spacecrafts. Then I opened up and I looked again, saw the sound like it's the base of my friend. Lost some gems, I'm bound to lose some more. You got the prescription, you got me fixing. There's a lot you've been missing since I built this lot to do something. This got me crawling.
Not perfect, not even close to alright. If you're with me, let me hear you say alright. I'm all about my name, yo.
And we'll be right back after one more message.
Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is go to hellhoundpublishing.com. Go to the menu, go find Cody Central, our show. Then you're going to scroll down and you're going to see a bunch of different donation options. Each one will have some really cool stuff that you get. Go to checkout, tell me what you want me to promote, cash out, simple as that.
All right, what up, world? Thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Let's get the comments going here. Um, I'm excited for tonight's episode. It's a little bit different. We didn't have a guest lined up for tonight. We as we've been saying, next week is episode 50. So for the huge landmark, we've been putting together a really special episode behind the scenes. We got a bunch of special guests that are going to be tuning in to the panel that night. We're gonna have some fun stuff happening with them, and we got more to announce on that leading up to the episode day. But in lieu of preparing for that, I neglected to lock in something cool for tonight. So what we decided to do instead was to open up a bit of a AMA Q&A style kind of thing on my Instagram and Facebook. I allowed people to submit questions in my DMs or wherever they wanted to, and we're going to be taking questions in the comments during this Q&A after as well. And so we're going to be answering a bunch of those questions and just freestyling a bit tonight and having a good time. But before I dive into some of the user questions, I want to let some more people hop in the chat here. um Danny, on Friday you had the opportunity to go to this networking event in Connecticut that I wish I was able to go, but it seemed like it was like a really cool thing. So how was it and what can you tell us about it?
Uh, First things first, shout out to the boys down in New London, Connecticut, absolutely tearing it up. Uh, Swavski and the Swab Bob absolutely crushed it on Friday night, man. Uh, really got those creative juices going. Super excited for what these guys got going in the future. It was a really great open house. They put on a great show, a great demo. Um, a bunch of people performed throughout the evening, and I met a lot of people. I'll be honest with you. I was not expecting to run into as many people that I already knew, people that I met at the very beginning when I started this whole entire journey into what I'm now doing. Um, to be recognized by, people that absolutely blew me away. I mean, they've got something going on down there. It's super exciting, and um, looking forward to us being a part of that, hopefully. And
So who was this that put on this like networking event?
um, uh, uh, his name's Swavski. He's a hip hop artist out of New London, Connecticut. The other gentleman is Jackson Wheeler, goes by Lens for Hire, who's actually a photographer and videographer who does a lot of their work for him. I actually met him the first time he was on tour with Chris Webby, and I was just blown away with his work, and I've had the opportunity to talk to him a bunch of times now, and I'm super excited. Um, they're going to actually be doing these networking events once a month, so it's going to hopefully be something that I can, actually we can continue to go down and be a part of, and hopefully meet some new people, meet new artists, and be able to create some new collaborations and work with some different people. Um, there was a gentleman that was down there. I know who he was. I'm a fan of his music, um, but I didn't have an opportunity to meet him. His name's Apathy, and like I don't know, I kind of chickened out and didn't say hi. It was weird.
Damn,
No,
he was at the event at the same time.
yes, he was there for most of the event. Yes, yeah, he was hanging out. Uh, I definitely, like I said, it was weird. Usually, I'm not that don't say hi type of person, but for some reason, I don't know. I was just there enjoying myself and recognized that he was there and didn't go say hello like I normally would with anybody. Like normally I'm the first person to like try to go say hello to people. That's the whole point of a networking event.
Yeah, Apathy is definitely like one of my favorite artists from that area, and I've had the pleasure of opening for him before, and I definitely can't like say enough about his like work ethic and his style too. He just has like such a proficient style and such a one of a kind approach.
But it was actually kind of like it was a really dope layout. Like it was an old bank that they kind of like, rent out now, like a space.
Yeah,
So I had like the old vault in it too that they've kind of like
that's sick.
converted and they've used in like a couple videos. Um, they dropped this video. It's called the Blueprint. Um, it's kind of like a whole like prequel, like introduction to like the whole swab mob and like brings you like into their world like through a video. And as a photographer and a videographer, like some of the like transitions in the video were actually like insanely dope. And um to see what they're trying to open up for people, they're talking about doing like seminars for like artists and doing seminars for like photographers and seminars for like videographers and trying to help make people better, help make like the community better and help get people, you know, out there that want to try to do this so that way they can, you know, help better the entire community of just not just themselves, but everybody as a whole.
Um, Real quick, I want to shout out Macadelic in the chat. We actually just announced a done booking show, which is going to be his first performance. So shout out to him being here. And shout out to the homie Real Raxus who wants to see the Venmo QR code. So let me see if I can adjust. There we go. Hopefully you can see that right there in the bottom corner now. Much love. We super appreciate any donation, any support. Um, it costs us a little bit of dough to keep this platform going and trying to get new equipment and stuff like that. So we super appreciate the support. Much love, man. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Um, so we got an interesting one tonight. So that was dope, by the way. I like the concept of that, like doing like a grand opening event for their like headquarters or whatever, and having it double as like a networking thing too, and just like encouraging industry people to meet up and like finding a way to keep it so that the guest list is mostly people that are trying to provide some kind of creative service. Just getting all those kind of people in the same room is such a task in and of itself. So that sounds really really dope, and I agree. I definitely want to pull up on that with you.
Well, I mean, like I said, it was kind of dope because they had some artists perform, like an artist named Camo performed that I never heard of, and absolutely put on a killer set, and absolutely enjoyed it. And I was like, damn, if I wasn't standing here in this networking event, I might have never found this music. So
How was
it's
like the
really
what was the performing setup like? Like, because it's like hard to picture this place. I just picture like a recording studio kind of vibe.
imagine like a bank, right? Walk into the door. You walk in, it's like a huge open area with like three office up against the wall. And in the center, there was just a stage that they had hand built,
Damn, that's
probably
awesome.
probably like 6 foot by 6 foot. And that might be even generous on the size. And it was probably only 18 inches off the ground, if that. And they were
That's
just
cool,
up there
man.
rocking it with a microphone DJ was behind them with the mixers and the boards, little PA system, and then they put on a show. They had a blast.
Yeah,
Little
that's
food set up
awesome.
behind that, and then there was a little open area in the back with some tables that you could sit down. They had a little red carpet that you walked to a red backdrop, and you got your picture taken by the photographer. And they had a little bar and a little merch table.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Oh,
That's the kind of thing too where it's like you need those kind of nights just to kind of get like I always used to say like I would be at shows and it's like you meet somebody that oh sorry I'm in a dust bowl here. Um uh what was I saying? So anytime that I'm at a show, I meet somebody who is like missing a piece of the equation where it's like maybe they're performing but they don't have merch. And sometimes it's budgetary naturally, but oftentimes it's like they just simply don't know what to get or where to get it from or who to ask. And it's like the famous one is like you meet the guy who's like an incredible rapper but has never recorded a record. Like that happens all the time. And but it's like connect him with an engineer and like let him know the accessibility of getting into like a small, it's like getting into a recording studio isn't this like wholly unattainable thing like it once was, when we were growing up. Um and
I think that's like the niche that they've got like going is like they're there to show you that it's attainable. It's and they're trying to like put out, you know, things to help people to show that it's obtainable and make them better to be able to obtain it.
yeah. And that's like I think that's the most important thing is that there's obviously like tiers or steps that people take in their career and they reach certain points of either learning how to do shit or earning the opportunity to do shit and putting different tiers of accomplishments in the same room really helps people kind of like envision for themselves like oh like that's way more possible than I imagined from just like watching on Instagram, or whatever the case is. I think that no matter how adept we are to like the social media age, it's still easy to like get lost in the idea of like damn it looks like everybody is doing so much better than me, like where am I falling short? And it's like well they just planned to make themselves look like things are going better, you know what I mean? Like I could very easily like plan to make my image look like everything is great all the time, but then it like wouldn't be authentic to my music. And so it's like I think you just like have to construct a plan that is suitable to who you are as an artist rather than trying to adapt somebody else's plan to what it is that you're doing. Um but I want to we should get into some of the Q&As that people asked about.
Absolutely.
Um so the first question that actually how about I let you ask some of them?
Well, I was going to ask you anyways because I felt like it was the perfect way to do it. The first one I've got here is your music's so personal. How do you decide what to share and what not to share?
That's a very good question. I think admittedly some of that was trial and error, I definitely put stuff out there sometimes that like I looked back on and was like, I wish I didn't necessarily say that or say it in that way. And so part of it is like you just have to give yourself the freedom to say shit and have it come back to bite you in the ass potentially, you know, like. But now that I've like done so much writing, it's like write everything and then save it and process it, and you'll kind of have that gut feeling of what is like good to put out there. Because a lot of it is like intention based, you know. I used to write really punishing, painful stuff because because I was reflecting on like a certain series of events that like caused a catalyst in my life. And at some point somebody said something to me that made me realize that I could still come for those experiences, but have a different intention or a different message behind what I'm saying. And so then that kind of changed what I want to say and like how vulnerable I want to be, because it's important to be vulnerable, but you also have to like protect the people around you, and you also want to like protect the future you at the same time too, where it's like if you're growing and evolving and working on certain things, you don't want to have these certain things like stamped to you forever. You know, it's like you did the work to evolve and grow from whatever it was. And so I think it's very like you know, it's going to be a different path for every person, but I know for me it's like I just writing everything is the most important thing, and then I'll sit with it and go, because it's like sometimes you just need to write stuff for your own catharsis, and then it's like, you know what, this is I'm never gonna put this out. Like this is I just needed to get this out of my chest. And it's like good thing I didn't upload that to SoundCloud the next day. You know what I mean? Like good thing I wasn't jumping the gun on that or whatever. So I think it started as it started as I felt like I could say anything, and as I got deeper into my like writing career, I realized that I can say anything, but that doesn't mean that I'm free from repercussion.
Speaking of personal and the 5-year anniversary of Howling Man, knowing that you would still get emotional the way that you do performing Moonlight, would you have still released it knowing 5 years later you would still be that emotional?
Um, it's hard to say, but do I think I would have released it still? Absolutely. Like, I think I knew, like, even from putting it together, that that was like an important piece for me to put out there and share with people. Um, I just never imagined it being a song I would like perform in my repertoire, let alone multiple times outside of an album release show. Um, and because of the state of the world at the time, we didn't even do like an album release show really. We did a digital event called called Howling Day, and we filmed it at the Vine Street Studios, rest in peace. And it was Berserk.
Performing there on February 7th?
No, well,
Alright, for
performing for
them.
the fundraiser
Yeah,
for
for the
them.
fundraiser. But
We
so
did this we did Howling Day there because it was 2021, but things hadn't opened up quite yet. So we had like a film crew come to Vine Street, and we put together this whole like concert that was like a live stream, and now it like lives on YouTube. And it was Berserk, Sean Caliber, and myself. And it was super fun. And because we were doing that, I didn't like play the album top to bottom. So I just kind of just like went with the whole thing of like, yeah, I'll probably just never perform Moonlight. That's not really like a show kind of song. And it's turned out through the years that people really do want me to play that. So trying to learn how to fit it into my feelings.
Speaking of, we all know of your repertoire, a good day. What is the meaning behind that?
Can you say that again? You got kind of choppy there.
I said part of your repertoire, as we know, is a staple of your show is not having a good day. What is the meaning behind not having a good day?
So, not having a good day really came from it really came from like trying so my catalog before kind of like what I was just saying, right? My catalog before not having a good day, people considered it to be like very dark in terms of like its like theme and subject matter and stuff like that. And like even my perspective was like very bleak on those records. And I was still learning how to like cope with a lot of the things I had been through. And I was starting to be aware of the perception of me like that. And so not having a good day was supposed to be kind of like a satirical like it was almost supposed to be funny and like Cody Pope is not having a good day like that was really the whole idea behind it was like that I'm in on the joke that I like that I'm aware of how people see me and that I'm trying to lighten up and like enjoy life and like see different sides of life and that was like a huge transition for me in terms of my songwriting and in terms of my like approach to like how people saw me. But the biggest thing was just that title record was really just like I just needed people to know that I was like still having fun making music, you know? And now that it's like I obviously in my head like thought that it would do well at shows, you know, I didn't like it seemed like a fun song when I was making it, but I didn't quite realize the life it was going to take on. And now it's one of those things that like it's almost like a catharsis for some people where it's like the most like the quietest person in the room, the person that maybe like didn't know who I was before they came to the show, the person that came with their friend or whatever. Um, this is the song where it's like everybody we all let loose together. Like everybody is shouting to the ceiling from the floor and everybody's throwing their hands up and jumping around and it's like that's it to me it's like an icebreaker, you know, it's like this is how I like to get to know people. Like I hope that us yelling in unison together and looking like idiots makes us want to talk after the show and like hopefully more good people will meet up and have better days by doing the thing that we do. You know, the ironic thing is like I love doing music so much that when I have the opportunity to perform, those are some of the best days. And so that song is almost like a let's clear the bad energy out, you know? A lot of people will like ask me after the fact and be like, "Well, I had a good day seeing you. Like I you know, I wasn't having a bad day." And it's like you just use it as a way to clear the bad energy out. Whatever bad feelings were lingering, use this song to get them all out. Man, I gotta send a huge shout out to Anthony in the chat. He said, Cody Pope, your music is fire, bro. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. Shout out to my brother Ben from Gate City Skate Park. Much love to Coach Ben. But thank you for the love on the music for real. You know, I hopefully it goes without saying, but doing things like this podcast, Hellhound Film Club, the shows that I book with Done Booking, all of that stuff is to equal my contribution to the community that has given me so much and that I still ask so much from. And at the end of the day, everything I do is to really support the music that I've been making. And so I I kid you not, like, it means more than I can say when people reach out, whether publicly, privately, whatever the case is. And when people are willing to put it out there publicly, it means that much more just because, they're standing on that flag. And so I really appreciate that. So much love, everybody. Shout out to Scott in the chat as well. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that's here rocking with us. This has been a fun one.
Well, I'll
Danny,
tell
let
you.
me huh?
Well, I'll tell you, somebody who's been to maybe one or two of your shows before, I will tell you, like for me, not having a good day, there's been times where I didn't realize that I had like energy that I needed to get out. And like there's been times where I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, not realizing that's the release that I needed for that moment to like move on, whatever the case may have been, where I'm just sitting there and I'm just, and then you're like, your name. And I literally am throwing my own name in it and then realizing for a second, like, okay, maybe I did have a bad day and I've just like masked it and like, but this is helping me realize it and now it's turning into a good day. Or I've just got something pent up and I'm just yelling at the top of my lungs because where they've said like when you're having a bad day, go yell in a pillow or something. That it's almost like that therapeutic release of that, just like and you just let
Yeah.
it go for a second. So, like to me, it's therapeutic when I hear the song.
I love that. That makes me happy because that's what it is about. Like that's what it's supposed to be. That and the album before that, Empathy and Emptiness for Those in Empty Nests. My big goals, that like time period, that was 2017 and 2018. And so like at that point I was starting to realize that like there was enough like rappers in the sense of like people that were solely focused on lyricism and bars and stuff of that nature. And I knew I could do that. Like I love rap music. Like I will always work on my craft of being a rapper. But at that time I started to recognize that I needed to focus the same amount of energy into being the best songwriter that I could be, because songs are what people connect to. Songs are what people play in their car or play when they're getting ready for work or play when they're trying to get through a shift or play on a long drive home after a tough night with family or whatever the case is. And so it's like I really focused on making songs that people could like, I don't want to sound like pretentious, but like kind of live inside, in the sense of like having these things be the soundtrack to what you're going through and to help you get through that. I recognize how much of a privilege it is to have a microphone and be on stage and be on these different platforms where you can listen to my music, or doing this, like having people tune in and listen to me talk and go back and forth with a friend of mine. And it's like I recognize the privilege in that. And so while I obviously want to have fun and express myself creatively, I try to make sure that what I'm doing is of some importance or has some impact, or that I say something that matters along the way, so that the time that I've been given with the microphone wasn't in vain. I think that's always been a thing that I have cared about the most. I really want to highlight this comment from Ben. I really appreciate this. Ben said, "You always doubled down on yourself and community. Much respect." That really means a lot to me. I really value the idea of community, and I value the bigger picture of, when I first started, it was my record label that I had started. Then eventually, as I started touring, it became the touring network and all of the different people that were doing the same thing that I was doing. Then the pandemic happened, and then it was like, all right, now I gotta figure out where to pivot. And at the same time, I was coming off of a hiatus from an album that flopped that everybody now seems to love, and you know, a lot of life stuff, and then the pandemic, and so I started a new label at that time, and the biggest thing about that was just, like, no longer keeping myself in the box and, like, betting the house on myself again, and part of doing that, because the pandemic killed touring, was it made me realize that, like, home is where I can put my focus, and ever since the pandemic, I've done more shows in my hometown than I ever did in the first 8 years or so before the pandemic, you know, from when I put out my first mixtape. Um, and so even though my idea of community has continued to shift and evolve, I always recognize that as a valuable part of what I'm doing, where the more people that succeed around me, the more likely I am to succeed. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the most successful person in the room. I don't want to be the person telling everybody what they should do. You know what I mean? Like I want to be around people that are the Cody Popes of the thing that they do, or even better than that, that inspire me to like want to be different. You know what I mean? Like, and I see that in what we do. It's like you with your videography, Ben has a skate park, Scott does, you know, community work. There's all these different people, you know, Mike McDowell down at the spot, like you know, talk about community. Like he's doing something on a totally different level to help build community and taking a sacrifice that most of us could never imagine. So I definitely can't stress enough to everybody how important community is, where it's like, even if your community is small, if you have a small tribe of people around you, make sure that you build those people up while you build yourselves up, because they're going to do the same thing for you. And if they don't, that's probably not your community then, you know? That's the biggest thing. You don't have to bet the house on people that aren't going to bet on you, but it's okay to give people a chance. You know, I think no matter how many times you fail or get let down or get the burnt end of something, you gotta be able to take the risk on trusting people, because we're all we got in this community sometimes. Big shout out to our brother Ryan that just popped in the chat. Much love. Appreciate you. Um, Granite State Ramen coming in 2026. Let's go. Make sure you guys are on the wave with that. GraniteStateRamen.com. Those are going to be popping up soon. Make sure you go back and check out that episode with Ryan. Danny, let me ask you a couple questions before. I know we still have some of the submitted questions in here, but
Absolutely, man.
so when I met you, you actually were like pretty interested in podcasting, and that was kind of where you were at. And I want to say within a year or so's time, you transitioned to photography and videography. And so what was like the biggest inspiration to like save up and get a camera and really just like push down this road and build what it is that you're doing today?
Originally, it was more or less, I was really interested in podcasting. I had some ideas in my head, but I had based my ideas around other people and chose to allow other people to basically hold me back, where photography was something I could do on my own by myself. I didn't need anybody else to do, and it was something I could do solely. But at the same time, I was in a situation where I was super blessed, where I was going to probably 20 plus shows a year, as a fan, just somebody who just got to be there, just got to experience. And I used to hear all the time from people, I wish I could have gone. I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have seen it. And the lack of documentation around me really kind of got to me a little bit because I just felt that like I can get here, I can be here, I can experience like everybody should be able to, just have that moment. And my brain was like, I'm blessed enough to be here. I'm blessed enough to be able to get the seating that I get sometimes, the standing points that I get to be where I get to be, um, just by talking to people, meeting people. And I just decided one day, why not put a camera in my hand? I had no training, no real skill, real no knowledge. Um, Maybe a little skill because I mean, they do come out nice, but I just thought that it was more or less that I was just trying to document an experience that I was blessed enough to be at, so that way, hopefully, other people could capture and feel what I was feeling in that moment. And that's what I thought was the biggest thing was just trying to capture those moments. So that way, other people that couldn't be there could hopefully feel that moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. As like a former punk and not former, but as
Oh,
like
you
a
always punk, bro. You always punk.
yeah, that's just like been instilled in me since youth. But as somebody who has participated in punk and hardcore for a lengthy amount of time in my life, archiving is one thing that's been like critically important in terms of photographers that have documented shows, videographers that document shows and can restore like old VHS footage and shit like that. Um, the old radio stations that were like college radio stations like WERS that had like they like turned their radio broadcasts into podcasts that you could download and keep and hold on to back when like iTunes was more prevalent. Um Obviously physical media is like incredibly important to the archival thing, and so like that is something that like I think hip hop has sorely lacked in terms of like from the ground up there hasn't been like a reputable like independent archive that kind of covers the scope of like first, second, and third level hip hop. It's like you have gazillionaire photographers that go to gazillionaire artists' concerts, and those photos get sent back and forth and used for publications, and that's really that. And otherwise, it's friends taking photos of their friends and shit. And so, like, the more photographers that can contribute to building some sort of archive of like the history of some of the shows in this area and the record releases and all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that like is gonna, help us have history and help us do things in the future as well. Um, Not only just having history to look back on, but being of historical significance enough to have an impact on the future.
I just like having I also like the having like the documentation of like somebody's journey, you know, to see an artist start, at one point in their career, and you can just see the gradual growth of their career go from somewhere to here. And then like having that journey also documented, like to me, it's like super important too, because it's like in a world of a lot of social media and a lot of like things that come and go and grab your attention for a brief second, just to have it all somewhere to be able to find later. Imagine 25 years from now, who knows where somebody's career could go. And they're like, man, I remember this show 25 years ago. And to be able to go somewhere and bang, find a photo of young you doing a show with,
Right?
30 people in the room. And now you're doing
Yeah.
shows with, s- you know, 3,000 people in the room, and you're like, look at this journey of where it went from. So,
Dude, it's like one of the things. Funny you say that, because obviously, like, one of the things that I like look back on fondly and like with humor too is there's so many like pictures and even some videos of like me as like a teenager experiencing hardcore shows, and pictures of me like climbing up on top of a sing-along pile, or me like running through a mosh pit or something, and then I started playing in bands. And so it's cool to look back on that and be like, man, like I've lived a life that like not many people can say they've done the same. You know what I mean? Like being a 15 and 16-year-old in a van and a band, driving around the country, playing friggin' VFW halls and all this shit, and kids beating the shit out of each other every night and then hugging it out and going to Denny's after. Like, it was just like a really special thing to be a part of in the world. All right, we're getting close on time, so let's maybe answer a few of these questions, I guess. I'll let you take it over, Danny.
well, since you brought it up, like about your punk hardcore days, how did you transition from punk hardcore to hip hop? Or how did the transition from punk hardcore to hip hop change your approach to music?
So it was an interesting time in my life where I want to say it was like 2008 ish. I was in two bands at the time, and they were both cool with it. Like I juggled them pretty well, and they would kind of be on different schedules, but I played in like a more punk centric hardcore band, and I played in a more like metalcore influenced hardcore band. And both bands like got received really well. We wrote and recorded records that I was super happy with. Things were starting to like make a name for themselves. And basically what happened was my like more so the punk band kind of dissolved because it was just like people were moving, people lived in now it was like people lived in different parts of the country, people were like going to college and doing shit like that. So it was just like stuff where people wanted to grow up and not be punk rock anymore. And I shouldn't even say that. That's not funny. But you know what I mean? Like, even punk rock kids have to evolve and like do new things in life. And I love all the people that I was like in that band with, and I still keep up with some of them. And the ones that I don't, I like try to look out and see if they're like still doing well in the world and shit. And it looks like they are. So I'm always hype on that. But I'm getting off course here. So when that band kind of dissolved, uh I was able to put more focus on my like metalcore band for just to it wasn't really a metalcore band, but it was like a more metalcore mixed with hardcore, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But that band started doing really well, and so we ended up setting up a tour. And on the tour, we basically had a plan to we had gotten in contact with somebody that worked at a label that was like pretty big in that genre. And so they were going to come out to one of the shows when we were in their area and like check us out live, presumably for consideration. And so that was like a big deal for us, and we were just excited to be on tour anyways. It wasn't anything crazy, it was just like a couple weeks. We had some friends from New York that we had met, and so we set up a run of shows with them. And it was in my heart, it was days. It could have been a week and a half, but like sometime that was like really really close to us getting ready to leave, we had a bandmate basically be like, "Yo, I can't do this tour. Like, I'm gonna lose my job or my girlfriend or whatever." It was like a bunch of different things, and so it just like threw the whole thing in a whirlwind because it was like, well, great, we're not gonna like find a drummer on a week's notice that can disappear for 2 weeks or whatever the case was. So we had to drop the tour, and obviously that meant not doing that like showcase for that label either. And we like were trying to figure out how to push forward, and me and the other like primary songwriter both basically were just kind of like, yeah, man, like this just isn't happening. Like we had like the band had already gone through a couple lineup iterations, and we had the songwriting duo that really like was gonna keep it together, and we just couldn't get band because it was like a weird thing that we did. We basically, me and another guitar player wrote all these records, and we would go to a studio, and like I'd do vocals, bass, rhythm guitar, and drums, and my boy, the other songwriter, would do all the lead guitar parts, all the solos, riffs, everything. He'd help with the bass parts if I was doing other shit, whatever. And so we would put these records together and then get bandmates to come and play them. And what happens with that is that like people aren't in love, or they don't have the same gravity to it that you do because you made it. And so it was like the band never formally broke up. We're technically still together to this day, and I still talk to the other songwriter all the time, and we half joke, half seriously discuss doing a final album because we had some killer riffs. But I knew when that time period was like coming to an end initially that like I thought I was done with music at first because I was just like, yo, I can't like I had been in so many bands, I had done tours, I had been kicked out of bands, I had been a good band leader, all these different things. And it was like two of my friends who who I thought and still think are some of the best rappers in the world, but they're from my hometown. We were always hanging out, and they convinced me to start rapping with them. They knew I was into music, so I would go to the studio with them, and I'd like we'd be sitting around and like playing beats out of somebody's car and like freestyling and skateboarding in a parking lot or whatever. And that slowly kind of put together the thing in my head of like, oh, like a rapper is like a one man band. Like like I had never thought of myself as a solo artist in that sense, but hip hop really just gave me the ability to pursue things on my own terms. And now it's funny because now it's like now that I have this like pathway to do what I do, I look at a band now in such a different capacity because before hip hop, being in a band was like everything to me. It was my livelihood, it was how I was going to survive. And so if the band didn't work out, I didn't know what to do. And as a solo artist, I'm responsible for me. And I make all the decisions, I make the music, I like do what needs to be done. And so that creative liberation was one of the best things that really happened to me. Um, and obviously, people that know my story know that I was also like pretty deep into my drug shit around that time. And so the band breaking up didn't really like make that better. And so the music shit definitely, when it coming back and like doing hip hop, definitely gave me the perspective that I needed to be like, yo, maybe being a drug addict is not as cool as it seemed. Like maybe pursue this thing for a bit, and maybe other good things will come if you be a better person. And so like a lot of good has happened in my life from making the choice to go down this road.
And by choosing to go down this road, when did you realize Hellhound was supposed to be bigger than just music?
So that is that's an interesting thing too, right? So I guess I gotta like put some timestamp on this. So the last band I was talking about broke up sometime in like 2008 or 2009. Um, and so I didn't really do much for, like I was just hanging out with the homies after that. And then around 2010, uh, me and my like two friends that I had mentioned before, we did a group together briefly, and then one of the guys was like doing his own thing in life at the time, and so me and my other homie decided to keep the group thing going, and we put out a demo as like a two-person group, and it was basically us like rapping over beats from YouTube. Like we rapped over like Gucci Mane's Lemonade and like So Fresh So Clean from Outkast and stuff like that. But we just wrote our own songs over these beats, burned them on CDRs, and like made free demos to hand out to people. And then we started booking our own shows in our apartment. And we did that for like 2010 and 2011. And when 2012 came around, my partner that I was rapping with at the time basically just had other shit happening in life, and music wasn't really the priority. So I kind of like said to him, I was like, look, like whenever you want to do music, I want to do it and I'm ready to, but I think I need to like do a solo project. And he like gave me his blessing and was like, yo, you should absolutely do that. And so 2012, I did the first Cody Pope mixtape. And that was Hellhound for Hire. Um, because of like DIY and punk rock and shit, we decided to like start our own record label at the same time that I put out my first mixtape because I just thought I knew shit. And so I had started a record label, and it actually lasted like 8 years. And we put out I want to say like 12 records or something, like 11 or 12 records for a number of different artists. And I'm really proud of the catalog that we put together, and the music that was there was really dope. But it was just like at a point in life we had a lot of young artists who were like going through transitions in life, and so they made these great records, but then these records didn't really reflect like who they were as they were becoming adults and shit. And so um things just perpetually didn't really like go the way they were supposed to, and the final straw was not having a good day. um so when we put out the Not Having a Good Day album in 2018, and we had a subsequent tour booked that was like 2 weeks of dates, and basically I went out and did the run of shows, and like almost every show was a bust. Like there were nights where it was like three, four, five people, and I had just driven 2 hours to get there or something like that. You know what I mean? Like really rough shows. And the CD wasn't selling very well at all. I was like begging people to listen to it. And so I was very confused, and I gave it a little bit of time, but I was like, man, something is not right, because why is my last album sell better than the one that I just did now, when I know that this is my best work and my best songwriting and all of that. And so that whole like time period actually caused me to like take a hiatus, and I was like, I just like whoever was around me at the time, I was like, yo, I'm done with music right now. Like I can't take the heartbreak mentally anymore of things not working out. And so I was like, I need to do something creative. And so I got really into writing around that same time. And one of my biggest inspirations creatively in life or whatever is Henry Rollins. And Henry Rollins, for people that don't know, was the singer of Black Flag and the singer of Rollins Band. He's a notable actor. He has books. He's an author. He has his own publishing company. And so so throughout Rollins's career, he's maintained his own publishing company that serves as the book publisher, as the record label, as like they've put out documentaries, like anything that he does is under that same banner. And so I started kind of reflecting on like, man, like my last record label literally had the term music group in the title. And so I'd kind of put myself in a box. And so I was like, why don't I start something like a new label, and I can just put my writing out through this. And if and when I'm ready to do music again, the label's there. But I could put out other people's shit in the meantime. And so like Rollins was definitely like one of my biggest inspirations to be like, let me create a umbrella that I could do podcasting under, that I could do music, that I could put out books. Like I just wanted to be able to do anything that like came to me creatively. This is like kind of funny, but I was really into radio plays at the time, like the old like 1950s like War of the Worlds and like The Shadow and stuff like that. And so what I started doing on my like hiatus from music initially was I wrote like a radio play that was 8 30-minute episodes, and it had like 11 or 12 characters. It was like this crazy kind of like sci-fi detective drama that kind of took place in the 50s. And I really was like happy with what I was doing, but I like orchestrated it on too grand of a level to be able to complete it. And then obviously the pandemic happened, and I couldn't have people like come into my studio to record anymore, or they like didn't feel like they were able to. Um, and so that project never really got off the ground, but that time in the pandemic kind of uh, gave me the creative push to do the Howling Man and get back to it. So that was kind of the long and convoluted way, but doing the record label thing and being stuck in the music box really showed me that I need to not limit myself to this one thing. Like I love rap. I hope that I rap forever. I love hip hop. I love like this music that I make, but I want people to recognize me just as much for my rap as they do my radio plays, as my podcasts, as my performances, as my merchandise designs. Like every I put the same amount of heart into everything I do. And so Hellhound definitely has given me the umbrella to pursue those new creative interests.
All right. One last question to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Of all your ups, downs, trials, tribulations, everything that you've been through, is there a piece of advice you could provide people that is rooted in an experience you have already lived through?
Damn, he took the Cody Central question and spun it on me. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would say, right, from my own experience is that believing in the people around you and wanting to like build a team is an honorable and an admirable thing, but to lead or contribute to a team that's going to be successful, you first have to be solidified within your own path. I often put the team or the group effort before myself, and therefore was never able to propel the things that I cared so much about. And so even this late in my career, I'm learning new lessons as to when I put myself first to be a better asset to the people that I know will need me in due time.
Absolutely. Very nicely answered. I love that.
Thank you, man. This was really fun. I appreciate everybody that tuned in tonight. Much love to the chat. You guys are the best. Make sure you mark your calendars and set a reminder. Next week is episode 50. We've got a crazy episode lined up next week. Like I said, we have a bunch of panelists that are going to be coming in. It's all previous guests from previous episodes, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a game show style thing with them, and having some fun with our whole panel on screen. And so it's going to be a good time. 50 friggin' episodes. It's crazy to me. When I first started this, I had no idea how well it was going to go off or how long I would keep doing it. And we're still trying to grow this thing, and I'm still trying to get the awareness out there, but it's almost like every week a couple new people pop in, and they pick up quickly the vibe of what it is we're trying to do. And I hope Cody Central continues to be a planet that everybody can feel at home on, because it started as a way for me to talk about the things that I love and give people a spotlight, and now it's like become a much deeper thing, where it's like I know people in the comments, and I see them and know what they have going on in their life outside of the comments. And shout out to Matt. See, like it's our community. The community grows every week, and I really love this, man. So let me actually point this out right now, right? So Matt, my brother, Matt runs a crew called Steakhouse Entertainment. It's all about like gaming, like console gaming, computer gaming, card gaming, like just like raw, real nerd pop culture shit. And so when I was based at the Vine Street Studios, Matt was the person who actually started podcasting before me. So they used to do a Steakhouse Entertainment podcast, and Matt invested in a mixer, microphones, all of this stuff, and we had a podcast lounge set up at Vine Street for a long time. And when they decided to like disband their podcast, he blessed me with the podcast equipment, and to this day I'm still using the microphones and a bunch of the stuff that he blessed us with. And so my podcast journey would be looking a lot different if it wasn't for my boy Steakhouse blessing me with some of the tools that I needed to get things off the ground. And I hope if and when Steak ever wants to get back into podcasting, that he hits me up. I would love to have you on this pod sometimes. We're growing the Hellhound Podcast Network. Like Ryan said, rest in peace, Vine Rock. Thank you, man. I'm glad that you felt like it was in good hands. I definitely want to get you back in the mix because you were so pivotal to making this all happen. So make sure you guys look up Steakhouse Entertainment. They got a whole backlog of episodes that you guys can listen to, conversations about so many different things, great stuff for a car ride, all sorts of stuff. A couple things before we head out, speaking of podcasts. I have been capturing the audio from the back catalog of Cody Central episodes, and we are going to be working on a way to make those available on your podcast streaming platforms. Spotify, Apple, wherever else you listen to podcasts. We're going to try and make all the audio versions available. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen yet, but I have like almost the first 20 episodes audio captured and ready to go. So we're gonna hopefully get that caught up this year, so that after these streams, wherever you listen to the show, you'll be able to listen to it after the fact. As we've mentioned a couple times in the past few weeks, we also relaunched our Hellhound Film Club podcast. Hellhound Film Club, we do live free movie screenings every Wednesday night in downtown Nashua. So what we do is we screen a movie, and immediately following the movie, we record a podcast there with the audience of whoever was watching the movie with us. We've done Matinee, we've done Planet of the Apes, we've done Taxi Driver. It's funny, Matt, that you mentioned Scream, because my fiance and I just covered Scream 3. So we would love to get more of you guys involved in Hellhound Film Club as well. Like I said, if you're in the Nashua area, every Wednesday we do free movie screenings down at the spot, 217 Main Street. The first episode of Hellhound Film Club went up on the YouTube channel. Tomorrow, the second one goes up. We have 2 or 3 more scheduled. And for anybody that is on our Patreon, we've also been on Patreon since 2018. So shout out to everybody that's been rocking with us over there. But they're getting all the Hellhound Film Club episodes early. So join us over there for literally $1 a month. For $1 a month, you can support Hellhound Publishing. Any audio, any music release that we put out, you'll get a couple weeks to a month ahead of time to listen to on streaming. You'll get our podcasts. You'll either get them ad free or you'll get them early, depending on which show it is. And we have more and more shows coming to the podcast network all the time. We mail out gift sets to our patrons that are gifts that are exclusively for them. We've done pencil packs. We've done mask holders, we've done keychains, we've done all sorts of stuff that was exclusively for patrons. And so literally for $1 a month at hellhoundpublishing.com patreon.com/hellhoundpublishing, for literally $1 a month, you can join the wave. And we're obviously going to keep putting everything out here on YouTube. We never want to take that away, but like we've mentioned before, this platform that we use costs us a hefty amount every month. The studio spaces that we were renting cost a lot of money. If we're ever going to get back into a studio, like, we got to be able to justify that. So there's just a lot of stuff that we're kind of like having to do on our own to make this happen. And so literally, if everybody just joined for $1 a month, you would get all the bonus content, all the exclusive access, and $1 goes a long way. Once we get a couple hundred fans signed up for $1 a piece, that's going to take care of a lot of the stuff that we're worried about. And then we just keep growing from there. And so I really hope that you guys will consider that. It's been a really cool thing that we've been growing since 2018. So shout out to all the Patreon crew over there. 2026 already has a bunch. They've already got multiple Hellhound Film Club episodes that they can watch already. They got some ad-free Cody Central episodes, all sorts of really dope stuff over there. So Hellhound Network is growing thanks to all of you guys, thanks to the consistent love and the support. Make sure you catch us every Monday night right here on Hellhound Publishing YouTube channel, live at 8 p.m. Eastern. As we were saying, next week is episode 50.
Hell yeah.
And we've got a crazy panel of guests coming through. I'm going to let that be a surprise for when we put out the thumbnail. But we got probably the most people that have ever been on the show at one time. So like I said, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a little bit of a different vibe there. New Hellhound Film Club comes out tomorrow on YouTube. If you're watching this live with us, if you're watching this after the fact, it may already be out, but it comes out Tuesday at 8 o'clock. New episodes come out Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, and sometimes we drop bonus episodes after they've been out on Patreon for a little bit too. So that's it. The world is changing. Thank you guys for all the love and support. I do want to shout out a couple podcasts as well. These are just people that are either friends of ours, people that we support, or people that have been on the show previously.
I like
I wanna
Matt's
shout out
idea.
Chance. Whoa, what was that? What'd
Oh,
you
by
say?
the way, what's up, Matt? And I love your idea for the 50th episode. Let's go.
Yeah, oh, you said I'm taking a pie to the
Let's
face.
go.
Oh my gosh, that's wild.
Matt and I became friends already.
I'll take 50 bong rips to the face. I'll do them on stream. But you guys got to donate so that I don't have to come out of pocket for that.
I was gonna say I might have to be there for the live podcast then.
Yeah. I love that idea though. That's a great idea. Quick shout out to some other podcasts in our network. Not the Hellhound Network, but I just mean our network of friends and community and people around us. Big shout out to LeChance Encounters. Big shout out to Nick Sands Presents. Big shout out to Airing of Grievances. Big shout out to the YDD Show. Big shout out to the Right Mind Podcast. Big shout out to the Wash Daily and the All In Sports Huddle. Like I said, these are just some friends of ours. People love to bitch and moan about there being too many podcasts, but I feel that there's a program for everything that you could possibly be interested in. It's a great way to learn more, enjoy things more. Sometimes you get a good laugh, an interesting convo. Sometimes there's personalities who you just enjoy listening to. Sometimes it's subject matter that you just appreciate like diving in on. And the best part is, if nobody's covered it yet, you can step up to the mic and join and do it. It's easy. Some people hate that, but I think it's awesome because I love very peculiar things, like I love Twilight Zone, I love X-Files, I love old Hollywood from like the early 1900s, and there's podcasts about all of this stuff in depth. And whatever mood that I'm in, when I have listened to all the music I want to listen to and I need a change in consumption, a podcast is always there for me. And so I feel really lucky to be in this space, and I feel really fortunate that this thing is just continuing to grow and become so much more accessible. Getting pie in that beard would be fun. Crazy. All right, guys. This has been a blast. Much love, everybody. Like I said, please come join us Wednesdays down at the Spot right on Main Street in Nashua, New Hampshire. Doors open at 7. Movie usually starts a little before 8. This week, we're going to be watching The Wedding Singer. I'm so excited for that. It's going to be a blast. New episodes of Film Club hit YouTube on Tuesdays. New episodes of Cody Central on Monday, and all sorts of new stuff happening in the world soon. Shout out to everybody that was rocking with us tonight. It's Hellhound Till We're Underground, Cody-Pope.com. And till next time. Doot.
Doot.
Cody Central is written and produced by Cody Pope for Hellhound Publishing. If you'd like to sponsor the program and have your brand, podcast, or service featured, learn more about that today at www.hellhoundpublishing.com/Cody-Central. Additional ways to support the program include purchasing music, joining our Patreon for exclusive content, or simply donating at any of the links available in the QR codes above.
I certainly feel sorry for you.